Good evening. Welcome to another Wellington Weighs In. Steve here on the call. It's good to see you. These impromptu Wellington Weighs Ins are pretty popular. The last one seemed to do quite well. Quite a few comments. If you want to jump in the chat, feel free. If you want to jump on, I can throw the StreamYard link in for you. I do have a friend tonight. I'm not going to be waffling on solo. I've got Harrison Parks has jumped on the call with me tonight, better known as Harry. How's it going, Harry? All good, my man?
Yeah, not so bad, mate. Yourself?
Yep, I'm keeping well. What's the weather like where you are at the moment? It's a bit blustery here, but hopefully everything will hold up as it's supposed to.
Yeah, I can't moan. It's not raining, so never mind if it's not raining.
Good stuff, good stuff. Yeah, I've got a fight running in the background, everybody, in case you're watching the video live or later on. This won't apply to the audio people who are listening on the podcast and stuff. But as I was saying to Harry there off air, it's 20 years ago today. Isham Pickering went into Hartlepool. This is one for the hardcores, this. British Commonwealth and European Super Bantamweight title against Michael Hunter. Not the heavyweight Michael Hunter, Hartlepool's finest, who went on to fight for the world title. No spoilers. We'll let that run in the background like we did with Ricky Hatton and Michael Stewart last week. But we're just going to waffle on. If you are in the chat and you want to throw some questions in or some comments or something, then please feel free. A couple of comments already, actually. Evening, all you hardcores. That's Veltschmerz. And Matt Butters is here, Slippery Butters. Shout out to him. Evening, Steve. Good evening to you as well, Matt. Hope you are keeping well. Feel free to throw in questions, comments, talking points. We do have a few light bites for you. Starting off, I suppose, with last weekend's action. I was saying to Harry there off the call, O2 Arena, Joseph Parker against Fabio Wardley. Kind of saved the show a little bit for me because I wasn't really too fussed on it being pay-per-view. I mean, not that I'm really paying pay-per-view prices or anything like that, but it was a good old-fashioned scrap at the end of the day. And fair play to Fabio Wardley. He gets the job done. Everybody's had their say about the stoppage, Howard Foster's intervention. I noticed Dan Raphael was going mad today, saying it was classic Howard Foster, fucking up fights like he has done ever since he's been refereeing. But I like a fight to reach its logical, natural conclusion. So I wasn't really too fussed myself. What are you thinking about the stoppage, Harry? I mean, the fight itself, as we were saying, was a good old slobber knocker, kind of a bit of a pub brawl, really, because Parker came in a little bit too heavy, was happy to stand and trade. But what do you think about the fight and the stoppage itself?
Yeah, mate. To be fair, I quite enjoy the fight this weekend. It's sort of reminded me a bit of an old school fight, like you say, two lads just having it out a bit. I wasn't super keen on the stoppage. At the time of watching it, I thought it was a bit premature. Sort of went over it again today, and I can see where people are coming from. I mean, Parker took 20 shots through two back, and that last shot that Wardley threw, actually watch it again. Parker sort of tries to slip the shot, throws his head out. From the ref's point of view, I mean, it looks like it's landed. I actually probably would have been happier if the ref stopped it at the end of the 10th, to be honest. I thought Parker looked a bit worse for wear then, and he took a lot more punishment at that point. So, yeah, I'm a bit 50-50 on it. I can see why he stopped it, but probably would have liked it just to go on a little bit longer.
Do you think it was maybe the sort of timing of the stoppage? We've held that accusation against British refs in the past. It was like he was taking a lot. Well, whether he was taking the shots flush or not is open to debate. I know Rob Kelly was sort of going through it as well a little bit, but it was like the timing of the stoppage almost. He kind of waited. He waited for a lull in the action and then jumped in. Whereas if he'd jumped in a couple of punches earlier, people might have been a bit happier with it, sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I completely agree with that. To be honest, like I said, I think I actually counted it. Then shots he threw, Wardley landed about two of them flush, anyways. And you're like, yeah, he waited for that lull, three more punches, I think it was. Missed was the last two, and then he chose to jump in. It just seemed weird in the rhythm of it, to be honest. Yeah, I'm like I said, not 100% on that stoppage. I think to be honest, people say about like Wardy gassing and that, but that dude is just that he's relentless. I mean, carrying that power into the 11th round like that, I'm not entirely sure he would have gassed. I mean, they might have sort of reset, gone again, but I think you would have got the job done 20 seconds later, 30 seconds later, anyway. So I mean, I think it was a foregone conclusion at that point. I think he was going to drop Parker, but yeah.
Just never know. I suppose you just never know. Tim R says, Dan Raphael always has something to say for himself. Well, I mean, I suppose he is a journalist at the end of the day. So, like ourselves, he's gonna throw his opinion in. The big Dan wasn't holding back in that interview. Yeah, Dan. I've had my issues with Dan in the past, but I suppose he said what he said. I thought Parker's tactics were terrible. Where was the clinching? Says Weltschmerz there. I thought he just came in a little bit too heavy, didn't he? People were saying that he maybe shouldn't have taken the fight, but I don't know. I think he wanted to keep busy. He wanted to keep active. The Usyk fight didn't look like it was happening. They're saying that Turkey doesn't want that fight. He's not interested. So Parker has kind of come to the logical conclusion. I need to keep myself busy, keep with those paydays. And as a former world champion that he is, an experienced guy, you would have thought that he would have been in the kind of condition. His condition has improved a lot over the years. I know there's been some varied theories over to why is that the case, but he's able to nullify a puncher. He's shown against the likes of Wilder and Zhang that he's able to nullify a puncher. He just wasn't able to hold on, really. He was trying to weather the storm. The cuts seemed to be definitely bothering him as well a little bit, I thought. So, I don't know where the clinching was, Welchmore. He kind of got caught in a storm, really. I think sometimes in boxing, I often think this myself, like when I remember in the past having this out with, not having it out, but kind of debating Vandy a little bit about this, excuse me, about refereeing decisions and that. And often it happens so quickly, doesn't it? It's such a split second. I mean, I don't know what you think about that, Harry, but sometimes even someone as experienced as Parker, it just goes by in a flash and he's got 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds to sort of make a decision and think about clinching, and he doesn't know really what's happening. He kind of got caught in the eye of the storm a little bit. Would you say that was fair?
Yeah, I mean, it's the fight game, isn't it? At the end of the day, you got someone that's wailing down on you. You don't have time to sit there and think, oh, I should do this, I should do that. You just act. And it's easy, people in hindsight, yourself in hindsight, to go, oh, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? But, when you got a bloke like Wardley who's smashing you in the face and the body, I might add it, I think his body work was pretty good. And particularly his jabs to the body. I really like that, actually. You can see, like, for someone like Parker, who said coming in a bit heavy, those jabs were stinging, and it just stepped him back every now and then. Yeah, I think it's easy to criticise fighters, but all fighters will say this as well, unless you've been in their shoes. Can you really talk? I do think, the whole clinching side of things was missing, but hard. I mean, I think Wardley's a much more physical guy than he looks. He doesn't particularly look really muscly and strong, but there's a lot of power in that man, to be honest. And the other thing I think is Wardley's a fighter. I wouldn't really, not like your traditional boxer, and I think that's probably from his white collar background. He's just got an instinct to fight. I mean, I reckon you could put that man in any combat sport and he'd do well. So to be honest, I think, you can criticise Parker, but what's a man to do when you're getting hit in the face and that? You've just got to make a decision, and sometimes it's going to be the wrong one, and you've just got to kick on with it, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I agree with that point about Wardley. I was thinking that myself, actually, that kind of white collar thing, or maybe lack of amateur grounding, which is a debate in itself as well. I know a lot of people talk about it these days, but I think it was helping him, really. And I actually thought Wardley's instincts and his footwork and his ability to ride the shots was very good as well. He was that awkward sort of cobra-like stance. He was ducking and diving past a lot of shots and investing in the body, as you said, especially with that jab. The jab upstairs was good, but the stabbing jab to the body as well. I thought he fought tactically a perfect fight, really. Actually, I was impressed with him. Let's see what the chat is saying. Actually, Tim R says people who thought it was a bad stoppage haven't seen Enzo Mack versus Oval Mackenzie 1. Butter said stoppage may have been coming, but seemed like the wrong moment for me. Credit to Wardley, though. Can't imagine he thought he'd be in this position when he started out boxing. He's one of these guys. I was writing about it on Saturday night, actually. Wardley's one of these guys, Matt, that he just, I don't know, he keeps defying people, the odds at every level. Nathan Gorman people thought he was going to beat him. And Eddie, another one, he slipped through the net. He was on Eddie Hearn's books as well at one point, and he let him go. And Frank's done a really good job with him. And yeah, he's got exactly where he needs to be. Captain Casual says far too heavy. I don't know whether he's talking about Dan Raphael, me, or Joseph Parker. It could be anybody, to be honest. Good to see you there, Damo. Not watched the fight, just seen the highlights. He's doing a Dave Loback here. But what they showed suggested it was a fair stoppage. 10th, Parker was buzzed. 11th, still on the back foot and buzzed with no response. Yeah, Parker was buzzed in the second as well. He was hurt in the second round, and Andy Lee did the whole gum shield trick. And then Parker seemed to get himself together, really. He was boxing well off the jab. The left hook was working well. It seemed to me around the round 7 or 8, he was kind of getting a gauge on Wardley's movements. Whenever Wardley dipped down to the side, Parker was ready for him with the left hook. So whether that was him or the corner, had kind of worked that out. But then Parker kind of lost his shape a little bit, which was strange for a world champion around that 10th round, which indicates to me that he was far too heavy, that it was fatigue that took him over and overrode his instincts, because I think tactically and strategically he'd kind of worked Wardley's moves out a little bit, and he just hadn't got the fitness to follow it up, really. Tim R says, Porky would be having fits over Harry's audio right now. You were wavering in a little bit, in and out a little bit, Harry, at one point, but I think we've got you here okay.
Solid.
Let's see what else we've got. Good point, says Weltschmerz. They might have changed the danger out of him. Keep picking against Wardley, says Matt. He keeps proving me wrong. Exactly. He's going to get there. Captain Casual. Porky still having fits at Jim McDonald Boxing, and Johnny H.C. Nelson are no longer with us. I wonder what happened to these characters. We were talking about that last time. They just disappear. Matt Butter said, yeah, there's an argument the amateur system might have dulled him a bit, made him box too much. And Yumi Yappy says, Steve, Wolves are going down quicker than Sky does at Matchroom cars. We'll not talk about that. Carry on, Harry.
Well, I just think the amateur system, it just polishes fighters too much. Teaches them to box for the judges, and at the end of the day, you get into the pro game, and you've got to forget about that. You've got to take each round as it comes. You know, like I said, it just polishes them off too much. I mean, we saw it with Evanisi and Josh Kelly. You know, it looks gorgeous boxing like that. But A, you can't keep it up, and B, I just think it trains all the instinct out of you. So for lads like Wardley, you know, he's got no fear really in him about it. As far as he's concerned, he never seems to be worried about losing on points. And I know you can rely on your power too much, but I just genuinely think he doesn't have fear of losing. You know, he just thinks to him it's not a boxing match, it's a fight. It's just a scrap. So yeah, that's where I stand on that, to be honest.
No, I think that's a good point, and I've always wondered that myself, because I think it was Adam Smith was saying on the Saturday evening. Adam Smith is actually commentating on this fight, but I've muted him now on the screen at the moment. Pickering against Hunter way back when in the Sky days, but Adam Smith would often mention that he would sort of growl about that amateur grounding, and they talk about that. But what you're saying, Harrison, I kind of agree with you, because obviously having all those international amateur fights and being able to box abroad and face different styles and all that, and box at Olympics and European Championships, your World Championships and that, you can't discount that kind of experience. But at the same time, I think sometimes you see them going on, oh, there's one guy in the red corner and the other guy in the blue corner has like 300 amateur bouts or whatever it is, and he has all this amateur experience. But whenever you get into those rounds 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 against like a grizzled guy, like someone who's, you know, had about 40 odd fights, and being able to dance around for 3 rounds, it sounds really sort of besmirching of the amateur system, but I don't think it's going to help you very much, to be honest.
No, I think you saw it a bit in that Smith Dawson, the opening bout. And, you know, lad's got great fundamentals. He's much taller. He's boxing Smith, wasn't he? And Smith at one point, he just walked through it. He's just like, fuck off. I mean, unless you've got that stinging power, it's a good tool, but I think it's just another building block. You need to add more onto it. So, yeah, but saying that again, you know, someone like Parker, he is no amateur fighter anymore. He's a pro. He's had, 30 plus fights, ex-world champion. You know when to get down to it. Having said that, I think probably one of Wardley's best attributes is someone buzzes him. The man comes back like he's possessed. I mean, how do you get past that? I mean, I suppose you get conditioned, don't you? You hit someone, you expect them to cover up or clinch with you, not to start winging overhand rights, left hooks, everything coming in. I think it's the unorthodoxy that really gets people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, well, I said that in one of the groups on Saturday night, the many groups that I'm in. But what I like about Wardley is that he kind of was struggling a little bit. I think it was in the 9th or maybe the beginning of the 10th. He felt the fight was getting away from him. I think Parker caught him early with a good shot in the 10th and buzzed him a little bit. And then Wardley's initial reaction, which you would think is the sort of standard fighting reaction, but we've seen from guys over the years that that's maybe not the case. I know I've been critical of Canelo in the past. I know I'm not saying he's the same level as Wardley, but for like quiet quitting, Wardley was like, look, I see what's happening here. Parker's hurt me. There's a chance I'm going to start to gas and I'm going to either go out on my shield here or go out meekly. And there was never any indication that Wardley was going to say, I'm going to let this fight drift away and say I've done 12 rounds with the former world champion. He came back and says, I'm either going to knock him out, which he did, or get sparked out myself trying. And I respect him for that attitude, regardless of what you think about the referee's intervention. I think he made a decision. And, he won that fight based on that decision. He backed his fitness, he backed his character, and he just got down to a good old-fashioned fight. There was no boxing involved at the end, and he just started lashing in shots. Some of them, which obviously we know didn't land. But Martin Mulligan says, evening all, big up Steve, loving the Substack, thank you. Terrible card, but great heavyweight fight, though. Yes, I think that is a fair summation. There's Spencer Oliver on the TV there. I think that's Nigel Wright next to him, actually. There's one for the hardcores, Nigel Wright from back in the day. He was a decent super lightweight. What else have we got here? Captain Casual says, fair point to Martin. An absolutely shocking lineup for a pay-per-view card. We moaned about Pedwardo for years and his shitty pay-per-view cards. Big top following up. Now the Saudi money has dried up. Yeah, it is Nigel. That was Nigel, right? Matt Butter says, how many times do we see top GB amateurs get sparked out by an Eastern European with a big punch? Titty slaps that like button, people. Yeah, hit the like. We got 44 last time. I was checking it out before we came on. Let's get over 50 tonight, and we'll do a few more of these. As unlikable as cock a hen. What about the undercard, Harrison? Anything that sort of took your fancy? I was a bit scathing of it. I know why they put that older dodge on before because of the Albanians and all, and the crowd and everything. But I mean, I know Edmondson pulled out, and they're going to have that Taylor beef fight and all, but. I mean, that was a pretty shocking to ask for pay-per-view, and especially off the back of like Turkey saying that he didn't want any more pay-per-views, and it's just that contradictory message, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I actually got a little bit pissed up that night. So I was watching from more of a casual's perspective. I fell asleep. I woke up just before the start of the main event. So yeah, completely glad. Just there was nothing captivating about it. I've since gone back over and watched it. Yeah, pretty average to be honest. The what was it? Co-main event, the one before. Sorry, Dawson. No, not Dawson. It was the lad Taylor Woodall. That fight, I'm pretty disgusted with the corner on that, to be honest. I mean, if I was Taylor Woodall, sorry, I wouldn't be happy with my management taking that fight. I can only presume he got a nice fat paycheck out of that. Because you're watching a man getting beat up for 6 rounds. Yeah, it's just not good at that point. I'm all for a bit of blood and action if it's like Wardley Parker, if it's even. But you're watching a man out of his weight class. He's just got no chance. After the 6th round, that was quite a vicious round. That's when I was sort of just hoping his corner would take him out, and they just keep sending them out. And I mean, to send them out in the 9th. And pull them out a minute, if that. What's the point? Save your lad for another day. Beatings like that shorten your career. So I can't really say what was going on in their heads, to be honest. There.
Yeah, you think they needed a Howard Foster intervention?
Yeah, it wouldn't have gone amiss there, would it?
Get Howard in. Yeah. Let's see what else is going on the chat here. Go on.
Do you remember when Parker fought another New Zealand lad? They fought in New Zealand. They only had about 4 bouts on that card, and it was really weird because they didn't have a crowd. They just had a load of sort of tables around the ring, and about 3 or 4 heavyweight bouts. It was that really
Hold
big
up a sec,
heavyweight
Harry. I'm
Parkinson
losing
guy,
you.
half made,
I'm
probably like
losing you
7
real
foot.
bad. You might need to give the 56k modem a shake here. I'm losing you, dude.
How's that going? Bit better?
Are you on the move? Are you running after someone?
No, no. Have I gone out? Have I?
I can hear you now. Go on, I can hear you now.
Yeah, Joe. Just it was a couple of years ago. Joe Parker fought another New Zealand lad, and the card was just 3 or 4 heavyweight bouts. Had a massive 7 foot, big dreadlocks. Can't remember his name. Somehow managed to make this Maori guy. It's about 260 pounds. Looks small, and it was a shit card, but it was enjoyable because it was just 4 fights of big dudes whacking each other till they go down. I kind of feel like a fight like this, that's what you want. Like, get the crowd hyped. You know it's going to be a bit of a barnstorm. You know they're going to be, at least Wardley. You know Wardley's going to be trying to take Parker out, so you've got no chance of overshadowing the main event. It's just the sort of fight you just want a bit of grit in the card, to be honest.
Yeah. I can't remember what that card was now that you're referring to. I'm trying to think what it was. I'm not sure.
I can't remember for the life of me. Yeah.
Maybe the chat will remember. Harvey Price Boxing Returns is in there. Veltschmerz says Brick Top and Eddie both seem to be struggling a bit without the Saudi Bunsen burner. Tim R says, good to see Mitchell Smith make a winning return for any Box Nation fans. Yeah, it was good to see Mitchell Smith back, actually. I know he's had a few problems. Can't call himself the baby-faced assassin anymore. He looks older than me. But he's got himself into good shape. I think he was touching 240 at one point. He was one of the sort of ones that got away with the pod. I remember Ozzy was trying to nail him down for an interview about 3 weeks in a row and he never turned up. So he's back now, but I think we'll just let him go. Harvey Price says, where's the next mega fight coming from? I don't know. I don't think there is one, to be honest with you. Tim R says, recall that Aisha reaching out to Mitchell when he lost Georgia Jupp for long-time Asylum fans. Yeah, Aisha. There's a name from the past there. Junior Farr. I thought it might be Junior Farr, Harvey, but I was looking at that card and there was about 9 fights on. Was it that one? They maybe only showed 4 because there's 9 fights on BoxRec.
Yeah, I think they only showed 4 because they split the prelims, don't they? But remember, there've been 2 or 3 solid heavyweight fights. I mean, dog shit quality, but they're just fun to watch,
Yeah, dog shit quality, but fun to watch.
I'm surprised they didn't have more buyers in the pay-per-view. I thought it'd be quite a tasty casuals. Everyone, most people know Fabio, and Parker's made his name sort of among the casuals more recently with Zhang and Wilder. I thought it would have been a fairly popular fight.
I don't know, man. I don't think the appetite's there, to be honest. I know that we kind of know the likes of Parker and that, and he fought AJ, but that was like 7 years ago. And then it's sort of stuck behind that DAZN paywall. Just don't think the appetite's there and the people know. I know on the same night they're going to have Fraser Clark, weren't they, against Jamie TKV on BBC. And Frank was raging about that. And Frank's always raging about everything. He's done that same shit himself all them years. And then Shalom was going to put a card on the same night. But I think the likes of the BBC, there's a bit of an open goal for them really to sort of draw that casual audience back in because, I mean, if they're going to put it on like before Match of the Day or something, they can advertise it on Match of the Day. They can advertise it in all them BBC programmes. They don't even have to put on the likes of Fraser Clark or Callum Simpson. They could put like a prize fighter type thing on, I think would go down lovely. If they had 8 big cruiserweights or something and 2 of them were characters, 2 of them had a sob story and they shoved them all on together to fight it out in a tournament at 8:30 on a Saturday evening before Match of the Day. I reckon something like that would go down well, on the BBC.
Yeah, it's like the old club fighters. Yeah, I think they used to do something on Sky, didn't they? It was something called like Sky Friday Fight Night or some bollocks like that. And it used to be in Germany or Bulgaria for some reason. And like you say, it was just 8 lads, super middle above, and quality wasn't great, but think it was 6 rounders, and you knew they were trying to get each other out there, so you knew he was going to have some decent knockouts and action on it. I think you're right in that. To be fair. Just I don't know whether the appetite's there for boxing in general.
No, I don't think so. Well, Ames has got plenty of appetite. He wants to get on. I know I'm trying to get him the link here. I'm struggling. I'm washed up now. I'm getting the link to Ames. Ames can come on and join us. I think he was thrilling over in Manila last I heard from him. Eddie says, no, sorry. Josh Ford says Eddie would never tell you not to buy it if you don't like the pay-per-view. He tried to sell the arse out of it to you. Hearn and Bricktop are just different. Yep, that is completely true. That's right. The link's there in. We need to hear Ames. Ames is coming on in a minute. No problem at all. Just a change of scene here, Harry. Just quickly, I noticed they were saying today that Dalton Smith is going to fight Matthias on January the 10th. I have my opinions on this. What are you thinking about that fight? Initial instincts?
Do you know what? It's going to sound really bad, but just I can't give any reason right to it. Just boxes, how he conducts himself. It just bores me. I don't have a great opinion on it right now, to be honest.
Let's get Ames here. See what he's got to say on this glorious. What evening are we? Tuesday evening. What's happening, Ames?
I have nothing to say, Wellington.
Oh, that's good. You're in the right place then. You're with friends.
I'm not in the right place.
Where are you?
I'm in the Philippines.
What are you doing there?
We're here for the IBA event. I'm speaking to Manny Pacquiao because he's part of the IBA now.
That's right. He's got his own show running and all, hasn't he? Tomorrow's Melvin Jerusalem. You like a bit of Melvin Jerusalem?
Who doesn't?
He's fighting a South African. Are you going to that fight?
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there, front row seat for Melvin Jerusalem. Minimum weight action. Minimum weight, but it never fails to. No, I've not got a pun there. I couldn't think of anything fast enough. Unfortunately.
What's it like in the Philippines anyway? Have you been there before?
Minimum weight, maximum violence. There we go. We got it.
All right. Yeah, it was well worth it in the end. Have you been to the Philippines before? How are you finding it, Ames?
I've never been to the Philippines before. To be honest with you, I've not been able to see much of it. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, I'm hoping to maybe get a little bit of time just to go see the surroundings. But I've got to fly straight back afterwards anyway. So whistle stop tour-ish of a few days. The flight is long enough as it is. But yeah, I'd love to come back and actually explore it properly because it seems like a really cool kind of place. Everyone seems really kind of friendly as well. So yeah, it seems like a place that Wellington would like, I reckon.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Read between the lines.
I don't even know. I don't think I would want to go to any place that Wellington would like.
Well, there's plenty of Wolves and Wolves fans around, if you know what I mean.
Oh my god, yeah, I know what you mean. Good stuff. So how long are you out there for, Ames?
I'll fly back on Thursday. So this will be the last day before I fly back out then. I'm in Manchester. Got nominated for some sort of award, so I'll go check that out. I don't think I'll win it, but just use that kind of time to network and yeah. But enough about me, Steve-O. What's this?
Yes.
What's this fight we got in the background? What are we talking about here?
Oh, this is Isham Pickering against Michael Hunter 20 years ago today from the Hartlepool Leisure Centre, European, British and Commonwealth Super Bantamweight titles.
Nice. Isham Pickering was before my time, but a lot of talk about him and the talent that he had coming out of it. Is it Ingle Gym or Winkerback Gym, right?
Yep, Ingle Gym. Brendan at the beginning was in the corner there. Good fighter was Isham. He got pushed into a world title shot very quickly in his career, WBO, if I recall correctly, against Mauricio Martinez. He got dropped about 4 times and knocked knocked out in the first round, but he built himself back up again. This is all off the top of my head, so if you're listening back later and it's bullshit, I apologise. But anyway, he built himself back up to European title level. Got a few fights on the BBC with Hennessy against kind of Italian, Spanish guys, and he was a favourite going into this fight against Hunter. But I'll not spoil it for you, Ames, in case you want to watch it till the end. But Hunter later said they're actually friends now, the two of them, and they always joke about having a rematch. But Hunter said he was very skilled, but he also punched very hard as well. Pickering, he was a talented Junior Witter kind of style, I would say.
I was about to say, he's got kind of like the dimensions of Tyan Booth. It seems a lot more game than Tyan was, from what I can remember of Tyan's sort of style. But he's got that kind of long arms for his frame. But yeah, Isham seems a lot more game than Tyan was. But I imagine that they tried to build Tyan in Isham's style.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny you should say about him being more game because we've lost Harry. I was going to come to him in a minute. It's funny you should say about him being more game because they actually said that it was the downfall in this fight. Spoiler alert: Hunter won a majority decision and took his title off him, but he actually came forward a lot more than he expected early on, and rather than boxing off the back foot. So this wasn't kind of like his style. What you're seeing here, it wasn't really him.
You threw that out of the window. I thought I was supposed to see it and not get it spoiled.
Surely you know the outcome, no?
No, genuinely. What year is that?
2005.
No, I barely watched boxing outside. I didn't watch boxing outside of Amir Khan then.
How old were you in 2005?
2005, I was 13 years old.
Oh, wow. I was 23. I'm the elder statesman, aren't I, man? I'm old, like. I'm in Ben Faruqi age category here.
Ben, you're the old man of the manor on the rocking chair soon.
The Lord of the Manor, James Hare, former guest of the Asylum. Shout out to James Hare. He came on once. He was a good guy. Josh Ford said he's Tyan Booth living under a bridge now. Do you hear from Tyan at all?
The heir to the Klitschko throne, James Hare. No, I don't. I haven't had any contact with Tyan for, I think it's been a couple of years now. But no, like I'm not. I know he's been doing content with the other channels. I think it's Boxing King Media, isn't it? I've not watched it. I just don't have time to watch it. When you're working in the industry and it's like, you know this, so you just want to switch off from boxing sometimes, and so it doesn't come on my radar. But I'm sure he's hopefully. I remember having a conversation with Tyan, and he said that he wanted to be a little more happy in life, and hopefully he's found that outside of boxing or doing the bits of content that he does, because he is, I think, behind all the bluster and the jokes that are close to the bone, he's actually a cool guy.
Mm-hmm. Fair play to Tyan Booth.
Well, he's a bit like you.
Never made it onto me. I'm not a cool guy at all.
That's true.
I'm the most uncoolest guy there is. I'm trying to unmic Harrison, but I can't. He says you can't unmute your guests because they chose to mute themselves. Harrison has silenced himself. Oh, there you are. There you are, Harrison. Here, Harrison, tell us a bit more about your own boxing journey then, like anything that comes to mind. You know, have you boxed yourself? What which are your favourite fighters, favourite fights, all that type of jazz?
Yeah. Right, I started boxing when I was 11, 12. And then I boxed 13 years. The very first fight I remember watching, Tesla 2. That was my introduction to boxing, to be fair, so not bad. In terms of favourite fighters, it's cliche, but I've got to go with Torre Gatti, to be honest. Absolutely love the man, love his boxing, love the journey up until fortunate end. But I can watch the documentary about him and Gatti Ward. I can almost watch that on repeat, to be honest. Yeah.
How much of a sickening was the passing of his son? It was just so. Well, I saw that the other week, and that was a proper gut punch, because he looked just like his son. He was a spit of his father. He was a spit of his father, and he was doing a bit of training as well. And I was thinking, like, he could go really far if he's got a bit about him, because there's so much goodwill and love towards Gatti Senior. But yeah, it's a shame that he is no longer with us, because He could have had a brilliant career in boxing if he wanted to continue, but wasn't to be.
No, I agree with that. I thought, yeah, and I was going to say, Harrison, I think the same as Ames, man, because you look at him, he's like the spitting image of the dad in the boxing game and all, and it's just, it's terrible. But yeah, Gatti, man, Gatti was an amazing fighter. Like, I was doing a thing actually, Harrison, on Emmanuel Stewart recently, and I think a lot of Emmanuel's favourite moments for me were kind of commentary moments as much as anything else, even though I did meet him. And that Gatti Ward 9th round, he just sort of summed that up, didn't he?
Oh yeah, that's brilliant. To be fair, it's the emotion in it. I think that's sometimes I feel like that's what's missing in boxing a bit nowadays, and all aspects of it is the emotion. I mean, there's emotion from the fighters, the commentary, everyone but Buddy McGirt, to be honest. But yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, need a bit more emotion.
Is Harrison the new blood? Is Harrison the new blood?
Harrison's being blooded in tonight. We're drafting him in. He wants a bit more emotion, Ames, and I might be in tears by the end of this call, so that he might get the emotion that he's crying out for. But yeah, shout out to Harrison. He's our new boxing blood.
If you want to get some emotion out of him, you might want to set up a catch-up Zoom or two with him.
Don't think so. Anyway, moving on. Ray says, yes, Steve, what a treat on a Tuesday evening. Porky just talks at the guests now and they have to nod along, says Yumi Happy.
So was that
never a problem with the stoppage, to be honest, says MB.
I'll tell you something I saw today, Steve. I'll tell you something I saw today. It was class. I mean, I'm absolutely not trying to push away the hospitality of the IBA, but it was brilliant today because we had the gala dinner. It was lovely. Manny Pacquiao gave a speech. Lonnie Ali, Rashidi Ali gave a speech, as did Joe Frazier Jr. But they did this thing I'd never seen before, where they said, and now we introduce to you our waiters. And the waiters came in boxing ring walk gowns, red and blue, with the food in the hands and the plates, came up onto the podium, like the press conference podium, sort of did like a face-off sort of thing with the crowd, and then came down to deliver the food, all whilst backtracked to the Rocky soundtrack. It was amazing.
That actually sounds really good. Why wasn't I invited to this, dude?
Oh, so it was not in the budget, sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Sitting here is barely in the budget. Professor Power's on the call with us, though. Who are you, Professor Power? Welcome.
Hi, right. How's it going?
Not too bad. How are you? Who are you, in fact?
I'm just an amateur boxer from the UK.
Very good. Good to have you on. Did you just stop by and decide to jump on the call, or you listen to the asylum? What's the crack?
Yeah, because the topic was interesting, because I think you were talking about the Howard Foster stoppage.
What's your opinion on that then? Was it too early, too late, just right?
I think the stoppage, I don't think it was a late stoppage, to be honest, because if you look at the fight in round two, in my opinion, in round two, Joseph Parker was on the verge of getting stopped. That's why he purposely spat his gum shield out to buy himself time to recover. And so that was the first round where basically the fight could have basically ended in the second round. And then the same thing happened in the 10th round. He almost got basically stopped but it wasn't long enough because the round ended before that could happen. And then the 11th round, the same thing happened. So there's three times in the fight where one person looked like they were getting stopped, So every time Joseph Parker was hurt, he wasn't really doing anything to stop himself from getting stopped, basically. So the ref had to come and stop it. So I don't think it was a late stoppage. I think it was a good stoppage, to be honest.
That's interesting, actually. I agree with the 10th. So in the second round, do you think that he really was in bad? I thought he was in trouble. Do you think he was in bad enough trouble that he was on the verge of getting stopped? Do you think so?
Yeah, because what Joseph Parker did, right? Because I slowed down the footage. So when they were holding, he purposely spat his gum shield out. So like when Joseph Parker did hold on to Fabio in the corner in the second round, his gum shield went out, and like Joseph Parker tried to play it off like it was something that happened incidentally or accidentally. But whilst he was doing that, he was able to recover. The ref pulled Fabio away from Joseph and told him to go to the opposite side of the ring. So this was a good tactic for Joseph Parker to get a bit of recovery, because who wants to get stopped in a second round? That's embarrassing. So I think he did that on purpose. I think the fight would have gone, and if he didn't take his gum shield out, I think that would have been a second round TKO, in my opinion.
What do you think about Wardley's ceiling? Because I was saying at the top of the show that every time anybody thinks that Wardley has kind of reached his ceiling, he keeps on proving us wrong, even against Justice Hooney. That was a sliding doors moment when you think about it now. He got in the Parker fight, which is now won. How far do you think Wardley can go? I mean, is the Usyk fight realistic?
Yeah, you know what it is, yeah? You know what it is? I think the Usyk fight is realistic, and I've analysed Fabio Wardley. Fabio Wardley is a tall man. He's not 6'6". He's about 6'4". And what you can observe about his physique is he weighs a similar amount to Anthony Joshua, but Fabio Wardley is slim compared to Anthony Joshua. He weighs a lot, but he's slim. Therefore, his speed, when you look at his speed, in some ways it does look kind of like a middleweight in a way, he's slim. Therefore, he's able to be more athletic, right? He's not carrying a lot of muscle. And he has a good chin and a good skull, and he can take pain and dish it out. And his power stays late, is very conditioned. So he can throw heavy shots without trying, due to his build and due to his conditioning. So if you ask me, that for me is a dangerous fight for Alexander Usyk, because I think all Fabio Wardley needs to do is to memorize maybe 2 to 3 sequences that Usyk does, and all Fabio needs to do is land one shot, right? Because there will be a time in the fight where Usyk can get hurt, and then Fabio will basically lay it on him, and he will get some back, but he will be able to take the shots. And I think that is the formula needed to beat Usyk. I don't think a boxer can beat Usyk. I don't think that's the sort of person that can beat him. Yeah, there has to be a destroyer that is athletic, and that's what you have with Fabio.
I'm going to be honest, Professor. That is a brave take. I like it. I like that take. I'm not sure I agree with you, but I like that take. I do think that it's going to be someone who puts it on Usyk. And one thing about Wardley as well, MB says it here. He has a great ability of dragging his opponent into his type of fight. And one other thing as well, Professor, is that the nose held up against Parker, which I thought was a good thing, because he's had a tendency in the past for the nose to be busted up. So, I mean, that fitness element as well, that looks like it's a good thing. But as for beating Usyk, I think that's going to be difficult, man, because a lot of people have thought that. He's seen every style in the book, hasn't he, Usyk?
Yeah, he's seen every style, but I think Fabio Wardley doesn't really have a style. He's very, very unorthodox in the way. Like Tyson Fury has a style, Daniel Dubois has a style, and but he's very stiff. AJ has a style. Gassiev had a style. Bellew had a style. All of these people have a style. Whereas Fabio Wardley doesn't have a style. But Fabio Wardley memorizes sequences where he can land on you, and then he's able to land shots. But the thing is with Fabio is he can take punches. He can take shots. I think there's only 2 people that can beat Usyk. That's Moses Atalma, and then maybe Fabio Wardley. I think Fabio Wardley does have a chance to beat Usyk.
If Fabio Wardley beat Usyk, that would be some achievement. Like, I personally wouldn't think either of them would beat Usyk, but I mean, I like what you're saying about those sequences. I must admit, I hadn't considered that before. MB says I think Wardley would be competitive early in the fight. Yeah, I agree with that too. I think that I think Wardley would fancy his chances, and as I said that before, Wardley doesn't know when he's beaten. Like, he went out in that 11th round against Parker, or 10th round, whatever it was, and said, I'm going to knock him out or get knocked out, and I like that about Wardley. Yeah, he would bring something different to the table for Usyk. I definitely agree with that. Anyway, Ames, what have you got to say?
Good to have you on, Professor Powell. Hopefully, come on for some other episodes as well. Enjoyed your takes, dude. I don't think like it's like I think you have to give Wardley the puncher's chance that he's earned in that fight. It's still a really hard shot to take for any fighter outside of your Tyson Furies, and we don't truly know where Moses Talma stands right now. What I like about Wardley is, first of all, I believe that the stoppage was early, and for me, this whole kind of conversation surrounding unanswered punches or shots is blocking an answer, is body movement an answer, is throwing back an answer, because it looked like to me that Joe Parker was answering. He maybe didn't throw as much as he probably could have, but it looked like to me his constitution was still there, his feet were still strong. I thought that was an early stoppage and he deserved a little bit longer, Joe, but he also didn't clinch enough. He didn't have that wherewithal. He didn't show the experience of someone who's won a world title and is on this momentum, beating the competitors in the division like he has done. So that was a bad choice of how to handle it in that storm. But yeah, like Fabio doesn't show. What I like about Fabio is he doesn't show any respect in the ring for his opponents, who on paper, given their experience, given their pedigree, should be beating him. He's beaten fighters who have been in the Olympic cycles and had the luxury, you could call it, although they've earned it, but in comparison to Fabio Wardley's background, he hasn't had the luxury of Team GB and all their teachings, the years of that from experienced coaches. He's come from a completely different background, and he's not overawed by that. He doesn't fear what's in front of him. I think that's a big part of it. Just like with Mike Tyson, opponents came in, they feared him, they were beaten before they got in the ring. And I think part of that is there with Alexander Usyk, because fighters, even though Tyson Fury has kind of molded himself into a destructive force after the first Wilder fight, he couldn't do the dancing on his toes as much as he could before, and turned himself into a jab and trying to get that right hand off. Even Fury had to adopt more of a boxing style because he was wary of what was coming back from him, and I don't think Fabio will do that, because I think Fabio knows where he is, and he would have to go in and try. For Fabio, it's a catch me if you can fight. That's what it is. He's got to try and catch Alexander Usyk, because Usyk is still mobile, and he's fast enough. He's shown the reactivity. He's shown the speed in his shots. He's shown unorthodox. He'll do the basic punches, but he can throw an uppercut in there as well. I just don't know, and Usyk hasn't shown that it's one punch or one shot will do him, whether it be to the body or whether it be to the head. So Fabio or any other fighter, I think it's a long shot for him, but he deserves it. He deserves the opportunity to go do it. Whether he does do it, whether he kind of looks to see if he can get an opportunity against someone like a Anthony Joshua or whatever, might be a route he goes. But if you think, even if maybe the Usyk doesn't take that fight and Fabio gets elevated, and if you think about that, like from a fighter who's had a white collar background all the way to winning a world title, I'm not a boxing historian, and like I said, I started following boxing. Boxing was a mere con until I went to university, or around the Froch Groves sort of time, which is when I really kind of got the flavor for it. But I'm sure, like in the early 1900s or earlier, or whatever, when the boxing was first documented, if you heard of a fighter who came in with that, just had no experience and started beating champions or more experienced type of fighters, there'd be urban myths, there'd be legends. If he was born in a different era, he'd be spoken as a legend. It's just boxing isn't as big or as sought after as it once was. But for it, probably what he's done could probably only happen in his division, because heavyweight boxing is its own sport. But I don't want to take that away from what he's achieved or what he could potentially have become in a couple of months, because he's just thrown himself in the deep end, and he's found it. And it's one of those things you said, Steve, like you'd never truly know with the heavyweights until they get there. Like Tyson Fury was you were saying that he was laughed out of the ring because he was a bit gangly, a bit funny, spoke nonsense at times, and he didn't think he'd be up to much. But you might think the same of Minus, maybe speaking whatever, because Fabio's always been quite measured and level-headed, but you wouldn't think it that this guy, he's the guy that falls short in the race quickly, but he hasn't. He's flipped that script, and everything that he's got coming to him is richly deserved.
You're right, Ames. I'm sure I said to you before, I said to the boys, like I sat there and said to Mick Hennessy, like, why is Tyson ducking David Price? Why has he dropped the British title? Which sounds stupid now, but at the time, absolutely, I was critical of Fury. He was a bit of a joke, he was getting dropped down. He's a bit of a clown. He was singing. He was doing stand-up comedy and all, and we thought he was a bit of a joke. Professor, you mentioned about Moses Itaoma, and for me, I think he looks the goods at the moment. He looks the real deal. But I think fighters, and you would know this being a fighter yourself, have to check certain boxes. What happens when somebody hits you? What happens when you hit somebody and they don't fall down? What happens when you get into the 10th or 11th and 12th round, your stamina? What happens when you get cut? There's all these boxes that need checked. And at the moment, Moses Itaoma, as good as he looks, he hasn't ticked those boxes for me just yet. Would you say that was a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think that is a fair assessment. I think we don't know how his stamina can hold within the 12 rounds. He did mention he doesn't want to get tested and all of that, which is interesting. It's an interesting one. I think based on the skills, it does look from the outside like he could possibly be a guy that can beat Usyk, only because he's been brought in to spar heavyweights as a 15, 14-year-old prodigy, which basically has given him the skill set he's got. That's why he's got the skills he's got, because he's in a unique class compared to other boxers. But that natural fighting instinct, we don't know if he has that. He might not have that. Wardley definitely has that. I think Wardley has that. When you look at Wardley, he's the opposite of Usyk. He's the complete opposite. So when Usyk and Wardley fights, they're fighting the opposite of each other, and I think it's the opposite of only the opposite of Usyk could beat Usyk. Wardley is the polar opposite of Usyk. He's no amateur background, no amateur Olympic pedigree, no real skills, but he has raw speed, raw power, raw elite conditioning as well, and elite toughness. And also his jab is very fast. He is quite fast. I think he's faster than Usyk in terms of the hand speed. He's also got decent feet. I think he is faster than Usyk. So I think there are intangibles that do make this fight intriguing, do make it somewhat of a difficult fight for Usyk, definitely.
I think what he does as well too is like he's sort of like a heavyweight Chris Eubank Jr. in a way, where it's like not the most technical, but has a bit of grounding and looks at the analytical side with Ben Davison, but he can just throw out the game plan at some point and just say, F it, let's have a fight. And boxing, sometimes when it comes down to it, is like who can fight and who can really fight and who can really want it. And he can throw that down, he can toe that line and force his other opponent into having an actual fight, regardless of tactics. And he's the one that has the grit and the heart to come out on top. And sometimes you need that. There's not a lot of fighters that have that when you push the pedal down and you see what people are really about. Sometimes they don't have it, and Fabio has it in abundance. And that's what's going from it. It's just whether he can force Usyk into that box. Usyk is a lot of other fighters, a lot of better fighters with respect to Fabio have tried that and failed. But he might catch him at the right time. But
I think Derek Chisora showed basically the blueprint how to beat Usyk. I think like not necessarily what, like the bob, like ducking and go like the head movement. I think head movement is one of the key ways to beat Usyk. He doesn't like it when you roll under shots, and Derek Chisora showed that. He also doesn't like it when you bob and weave your head, and he doesn't like it. I don't know if you saw Chris and Billy versus Lester Martinez. That sort of pressure, he doesn't like that. Usyk doesn't like that. I think Wardley will bring that same psychological element to that fight. So in a way, he is kind of doing what Derek Chisora will be able to do, but for a longer time, basically, for the whole 12 rounds.
And funnily enough, it was Derek Chisora who was the only one that was brave enough to go on record and and back Wardley to beat Joe Parker. You said it on the Sun. The Sun's got a great boxing podcast hosted by Wally Downs Jr. and Jack Figg. Wally Downs Jr. experienced journalist, and Jack obviously learning his trade, and he's a good journalist as well too. He's here with me in Manila. But they had Derek Chisora, they had Fabio Wardley, they had David Adelaide. They had Derek Chisora, David Adelaide, and Johnny Fisher on the show, and Chisora was the only one who'd back Parker. Sorry, words are going everywhere. Chisora was the only one who'd back Wardley to get the victory, and he said that he's backing him because he's sparred countless rounds with Fabio. He said he sparred Fabio probably the most in the last few years, and Chisora is one of them. Like, the heavyweights get around, don't they? They're not afraid, like other divisions, to throw themselves in, even if they're going to meet however many years down the line. They just kind of get into it, and surviving early with no background in boxing against Derek Chisora, who's doghouse sparring and looking to put you from the off, then you've got a lot about you. And to the respect of Chisora kind of goes a long way, and I'm sure Chisora probably end up backing Fabio as well against Usyk too.
Oh, I'd say he probably will. Harrison, go ahead, sir. What are you thinking about this conversation?
Yeah, I think it's the unorthodoxy of Wardley that if it can, because I did have this thought earlier, but if it can, it will get Usyk, because Usyk will be so conditioned to expect things, you know, how you learn from a kid. And Wardley just throws a lot of that out the window. To be fair, it was the second round when he caught Parker. I had a little laugh at myself over it. He wound him across the top of the head, and that was when he stunned him. And you can see Parker's eyes go, "What the fuck have I just been hit with?" And I think 2 shots on Usyk like that, I'm not necessarily going to back him to beat Usyk, but I'm going to say he'll put a big dent in him. But I think I've always gone against Usyk because I've always tried to have a bit of faith. And I've always looked at why Usyk, what someone can do that will beat Usyk. And I'm going to look at it a bit differently this time and sort of look at what Usyk might do that could lose him the fight. And I just think it's going to be what you expect from a fighter, and Wardley's just not going to do it. It's just, that's how the man boxes. I think that catches a lot of people out, to be honest. It's just his unorthodoxy and things.
Are you setting yourself some homework, Harrison? Are you going to go away and analyse this for us and come back and let us know?
I can certainly do that.
Good man. Let's see what's happening in the chat before we bring the boys back in. Josh Ford says, personally think they can milk Wardley one more fight before Usyk. We have so few names in Britain at the minute. Don't have him get beat by Usyk just yet. Triple D is in the non-steroid tainted Tony Sims gym now, says Tim R. Paul Raftery, shout out to Paul, says, yes, Wellington. Yep, that's me. Jason Chukwu will be on later. I haven't heard from Chukwu in a while, actually. I hope he's all right. He'll probably start listening to these in about 6 months' time. Whatever Fabio has, AJ don't have it, says Yumi Yappi. Yes, that is a good point, actually. That is a good point. If you could roll them into one, there'd be some fighter, wouldn't they? Ray says, Steve, will you be discussing the perennial boxing debacle? What is next for Dave Allen? I might start getting into the analysis game, Ray, and start analysing Dave Allen fights and stuff and showing you what he does really well with his feet, things like that. Just you watch this space. Ames, I'll tell you one thing that I wasn't fussed on Saturday night. I don't know how much you saw of this, but they got all the heavyweights together, and it was the biggest non-entity ever. They had Cabiel, they had Adelaide, they had Okoli, Dubois was there, Itaoma, and then they brought out Dillian White and Chisora, the fight that we all know signed. They couldn't even announce that. All these boys were standing in a semicircle, and they said a whole lot of nothing. There was no announcements. They all said, oh, yeah, I'll fight him, and all this. It was just an absolute waste of time, Ames, and if you caught any of that.
I saw them in the lineup, but I didn't have the audio on because I was where was I? I was out somewhere, I think, with friends at the time. But I saw it, and I was just thinking, what really do any of them have to say? Because all of them, some of them might have in that lineup might have had fights, but none of them actually had opponents. And at that point, nothing was signed, or even what Frank Warren recently said to the ring about White and Chisora free. That was still a couple of things to tie up, and Frank wasn't able to make the announcement then. And he said in the pre-fight build-up of that Wardley Parker fight week, that he was trying to make that announcement on the Saturday. So, none of them really had stuff to lock in. I'm sure Italma was itching to get out again, but he's having problems to find opponents because of his talent. Okoli and Adelaide are over in Africa getting fights, which Okoli's jockeying for position to get one of the world titles. Adelaide's looking to get back on the comeback trail. Triple D is fit and healthy, although apparently he was carrying an injury, but he's at Tony Sims, but there's a gym, but there's a delay in announcing that he's at Tony Sims' gym. There's all sorts of things in the background that are going on, but none of them are actually have anything penciled in yet. So even Caballel, who they were looking to announce his fight, but no opponent on the other side, and it is tricky. I'm not using it as a criticism to Queensberry Promotions in any way. It's a difficult landscape to navigate in the heavyweights as well when you're trying to make the big heavyweight fights and keep, if you can, the best place fighters in as high rank as possible. It's a sometimes difficult prospect to juggle all those balls, but Frank now seems to have taken, and this has been credit to Frank throughout the years. He doesn't mind if he's got the two fighters, and it's a good fight to make. He'll make it. So he did that with Parker and Wardley, although there'd been criticisms of the pay-per-view element, of course. But in terms of the matchmaking, it was a good fight to make, and he seems to be happy to make that within his heavyweight. So I say, maybe fast forward a few more weeks, and that lineup and the conversation within the lineup would be a lot more. There would be a lot more on the table to discuss. But just at that point, it just seems like there's a lot of heavyweights there ready to throw punches, but none of them are actually in a position to think about throwing them because they hadn't got anything on the horizon.
I think in that Usyk and Dubois fight, the only reason why Dubois got stopped is because it's a mental thing. We know Daniel Dubois I'm not gonna say he's autistic, but obviously he's not. How can I say he's not normal, right? And that's quite.
I think he's a bit of a simpleton.
Yeah, it may be some, like, how can I say, neurodivergent and some anxiety. I think he has anxiety, but that's something that a lot of people have. But he clearly has anxiety, and a lot of people don't understand when you have anxiety. Because I have anxiety. When you go into this anxiety mode, you start to sweat and you start to get tired. In that fight, he had anxiety. His anxiety went up. That's why he looked kind of gassed, and then he got knocked out. He got knocked out because mentally he checked out. He knew he wasn't going to win, so he just was like, let me just get him to put me out of my misery, and let me just go for the jugular. And he got knocked out. I don't think Fabio Wardley is going to do that. I think Fabio Wardley is not going to have that same mental deficit. He's not going to have that same fear factor that a lot of fighters get when they fight Usyk, which means he is going to be able to land the shots. Do you understand? Like he's not going to care about shots being thrown back at him and getting touched by them. He's going to be able to land specific shots with maximum effect whilst being hit, which I think will expose, how can I say, like the slowness that Usyk has developed. Because if you look at the Dubois fight, even though he won, Usyk was on the front foot fighting. You could see that he wasn't as fast as he was in that AJ fight. So Usyk is not the same. This is not the same Usyk that fought AJ. The Usyk that fought AJ is the best Usyk he probably there's ever been, if I'm being honest. You just watched that first AJ fight, the defense and all of the skills. It was crazy. That Usyk is not going to show up in this next fight. So I think with all those factors coming into play, I think we could see an upset, if I'm being honest.
Do you think then, Professor, that Dubois is like carrying a lot of nervous energy in his and in his mind, and it's like sort of burning up his energy levels?
Yeah, because he's got a bit of anxiety. He's on the spectrum, so he's not someone that, like I say, Daniel Dubois is not really a fighter like that. He needs someone to hold his hand a little bit. He can't think on the fly. He's very basic. And even he was able to land some shots on Usyk. He landed an uppercut that really didn't do anything. Landed shots. He came in a bit too heavy, but I don't think that for me. That for me gives Fabio a big chance. I'm not saying he will win. I'm not saying he has an advantage over Usyk, but I think what he has is a major psychological advantage over all of the opponents that fought Usyk, and boxing is very mental. So that for me is a dangerous fight for Usyk.
So if old Triple D has ADD, how are we going to calm him down? What do you think we can do to help him, like to get him through this? Does he need like a psychologist or some kind of breathing exercises, or do you think this is just the way he's going to be now? There's no kind of help for him at the top level?
No, that's it. To be honest, that's it.
That's it, Ames. There's no help.
No,
for him.
I disagree. This going to call back to this podcast when Daniel Dubois was defeated by Joe Joyce, and some of the esteemed panelists, and not knocking them and saying they're not esteemed, but some of them called for that Daniel Dubois would never win the world title, and he's since claimed some big victories and held a title in the division. And I think Dubois gets written off too easy because it's a bit of an easy write off to make because of how he appears. I don't think he's a simpleton at all. I think Dubois is essentially like the kid in class who the teacher's teaching, but he's not interested. He's not listening when the teacher calls out his name. He goes, "What?" And they might come across like they're stupid or whatever, but they're just whatever it is doesn't interest them. So they switch off. They don't listen, and they come across kind of that sort of way. I think he's quite shy. I think he's quite reserved, and unless you kind of show him something that he likes, he's just not really bothered about it. The stuff about the press conferences, all that sort of stuff, the interviews, he doesn't really like it. It's not for him, but spend a bit of time with him. You do need a bit of time with him. And break the ice. He starts cracking a few jokes and things you wouldn't expect of him. So I'm not saying like I've had deep conversations with Daniel by any means, but I just think it's one of those where boxing isn't particularly like an interest of him. For him at all. He's not deep ingrained in watching this fighter in the past. It's just a way for him to earn a living. It's a way for his dad to live vicariously through him also, and follow kind of his dad's path that's laid out for him. We'll see what the Tony Sims move does if and when it gets confirmed for him, because I know that McGuigan's gym wanted him to kind of stand on his own 2 feet and, have more adult responsibilities outside of his kind of father's guidance. Not to say that they pushed away his father's hand, but just to kind of give him his own bit of independence, so that when, his father wasn't in the corner for those fights, he wouldn't keep looking over. But that was still an issue at that when he was under Shane McGuigan. They sort of half sussed it by having Barry give instructions, because they kind of noticed that he was listening to Barry because he was an older kind of head. Tony is an older head as well, and the word is right now, if he is moving to Tony Sims, that the dad isn't in the gym as often he had been previously under different coaches, essentially under Don. So we'll see what that means from a Daniel who's now seen it, as to how he's performed in the last few years, been kind of going up and down. But yeah, I think he's got I think a Dubois versus Wardley is a brilliant fight. I think a Dubois versus Cabial is a good fight where you could see either fighter getting the hand raised. I think he's got a lot of life left in heavyweight division if he wants it. Like a Dubois versus Fury, brilliant kind of clash of styles, because he carries so much power, and he carries. He just needs that little bit of a glimmer. He just needs a little bit of a shake in the leg. He needs a little bit of to crack someone on the chin, and then he goes for it. He sees it, and that's all he needs to get that confidence within himself, and then he really kind of gets into his swing of things. I think the phrase.
Cabriel's all wrong for him, Ames, man. I think he ain't going to be stationary. He's got a lovely jab, good body shots as well.
Cabial's good, but there's I think, we're sort of prisoners in the current form with Cabial, and he can be caught as well too. There's video out there of Cabial on skates. I think it might have been against.
Oh yeah, was that the Skimichi fight? Yeah. You're right. I've seen. Yeah, no, that's a good. I forgot about that. That's a good point, actually.
And Cabial's in front of you. So I'd back Daniel Dubois to be have the edge of the favorite in that fight. But yeah, Cabial has got his own route to victory as well too. But yeah, I think it's a bit too easy to for after Daniel. I think he's got a lot left in the game if he wants it.
No, that's a good point. I forgot about that Scamici one, actually, yeah, for Gabriel. Harrison, I didn't have a chance to have this out with the Professor because he slipped away. Although, a fair play to the Professor, man. He came in, he saw his opportunity, let the shots go, and he's away again, out to dodge like a shot. But I think one thing I will say, he said that Usyk peaked at the first AJ fight. I'm not sure I agreed. I'm not sure I agree with that. Yeah, after the 24 rounds with Fury. But I thought in that Dubois fight, I thought Usyk was superb, man. Because there was a lot of people, if you remember in hindsight, thinking, oh, they were going on a bit of the low blow. I know Frank was selling it and all. Dubois has improved since then. He's won the IBF title. And Usyk came out like a proper champion, front foot, went to the right to the puncher, put it on him, and sort of broke him down mentally and physically. I thought that was an outstanding performance from Usyk.
Yeah, I mean, I think Usyk's best performance was the second fight against Fury. I mean, I think, to be honest, Fury's head and shoulders above AJ. I think Fury pushed him close in that first fight. I think that's, the closest he's been. And he just came back in that second fight and learned everything he needed to do and just made Fury look a step below him. As far as Triple D go, I'm not the greatest lover of Triple D, to be honest. I get both points, but to me it just sounds like you're saying Daniel Dubois like a Belgian Malinois, but a really shy one. Like if you piss it off enough, it's going to bite you in the bollocks, but you've got to piss it off some. I don't think he believes in himself mentally. He can certainly whack, and he's got great fundamentals. But again, I just think he's got very good basics, but there's no dynamism to him. And I like dynamism in a fighter, to be honest. Not the greatest lover of him. I still think Usyk's here to stay. I think what the Professor was saying about Wardley and Usyk being, two opposites. I almost think they're so opposite, they're the same. I think they've got the same instincts. It's just like Usyk has been drilled down a million times to precision. I mean, let's be honest. If he wasn't a boxer, the dude would be running around slotting Russians in Ukraine at the minute. So I think they're cut from the same cloth, to be honest. I just think one's a bit of raw instinct and one is a precision-guided missile, if you like. But I would really enjoy a fight between him and Wardley. Actually, I think there'll be some good scares. Wardley's body work, I think, will give him a lot of trouble. For me, what Wardley will have to do is win the fight in the first 6 rounds, because it just seems after 6 rounds, and he does it every time. I don't know whether he learns, he takes all this information, and then suddenly, does a right turn and changes his strategy, or it's the fact that he already has that gear and he's just waiting to step it up. But it's like every fight, 6th round comes, different Usyk comes out. But I reckon that could definitely suit Wardley. Put it all on there, first 6 rounds, and if you get knocked out, do you know what I mean? What have you got to moan about? At the end of the day, he's best of the best. That's probably where I'd see it, to be honest.
No, I think that's fair enough. I think as well, just to close this out before we close the show out, that the Dubois, I think, is very much this is not a good take. Everybody knows this. Like, he's a confidence fighter, and I think he's a momentum fighter. If he gets the momentum going and he gets on top, he grows that confidence. But I think if you can sort of hold him out and hold him off and not allow him to get into that groove, you can break him down mentally. And obviously he's got to a very high level and he's been able to gut it out. But I think that the very best guys will be able to break his confidence and break that momentum. And just generally, Joyce did it, didn't he, with the jab? Usyk did it twice. So they've just been able to, when he's been in them firefights against guys like Hrgovic and Miller, I suppose, and definitely AJ, and it's been sort of a bit chaotic, he's been able to come out on top. I think guys who methodically just take his confidence away and stop him from gaining any momentum are able to shut him down, which is why the Wardley fight's so interesting, because he's not really that kind of methodical fighter. But Caballel, I thought, was. But as Ames has quite rightly pointed out, Caballel isn't as elusive as he likes to think he is. So we're all off the Caballero bandwagon now. No, but in all seriousness, I mean, someone like a Frank Sanchez at one point, but I mean, we all saw what happened to him. Anyway, last few things, then we're going to go to about 1 hour 20, boys. So another 5 minutes, then we'll hook it out of here. 1 hour 20 is a nice sort of time for Wellington on this Tuesday evening. Ames, first of all, Matt Butters says, what do you think of Josh Kelly signing to fight Murtazaliev? I'll tell you what I think about this fight. I actually think it's quite interesting, you know. I think Josh Kelly has been written off as this pretty boy. Obviously, that's his nickname and all. But he showed that he's a very good mover. And guys like Jack Kulkai showed against Murtazaliev when he was moving that you can sort of keep out the way of Murtazaliev. He's been built up to be this beast mainly off the Tim Zhu fight, but that was over a year ago now. It'll be about 15, 16 months by the time they get into the ring. Murtazaliev for a long time was happy to sort of sit on his money, get step aside money so he didn't have to face Charlo. The point I'm sort of labouring here, Ames, is that Murtazaliev looked like an absolute beast against Zhu because Zhu foolishly stood in front of him and punched it out with him. But someone who can move a bit on their feet and keep him turning, keep him twisting, could make Murtazaliev look a little bit ordinary because he has been made to look ordinary in the past. What do you think about that assessment?
Yeah, no, I think the assessment's good. It's just whether Josh Kelly can keep that gas tank going for the full distance, because he, for a fighter that keeps on the front foot and keeps him pedaling, eventually he slows down. It's just whether he can. He has to stand his ground at some point, fire back or take a barrage, and if he can come through those moments, because that will happen in the fight. I think it's more of a case with this Murtazaliev fight. It's a bit of a piss or get off the pot for Josh Kelly, because spoke about him a lot. He went in against Avanesian. It wasn't the right time for him, and he ended up losing that fight. But if you have those world title aspirations for a fighter who's doing well, from what I hear outside of the sport, then you might as well have this throw at it, because when are the opportunities going to come? Otherwise, with I'm not trying to say that Wasserman don't have the financial backer or anything, but the world title fights for Wasserman fighters are few and far between than they are with maybe other promoters. So you just kind of got to go with it. And on the flip side of that, he's been able to be catered to more with the matchmaking and have the expertise of being guided through the rankings with favor more so in the fights that he's had. So there's obviously swings and balances with that, but yeah, I think it's just a case with Josh Kelly. It's just now or never, and he's got to take whatever comes. And it's the Murtazaliev fight that's come through, and yeah, for that sort of style, like you're saying, it's made for him. It's just whether he can withstand the fire for the full distance.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Harrison, what are you thinking? I agree with Ames. I think that Kelly could be standing him on his head for 8 or 9 rounds, but towards the end, as Murtazaliev showed against an albeit aging Kulkai, who was actually a very good amateur and a world-level fighter at his peak, that Murtazaliev just broke him down. He was fresher, he hit harder, and I think that Kelly will be not struggling necessarily, but it's how he gets through those final few rounds. And against Ishmael Davis, I suppose Davis really came on in the 11th and 12th, which isn't a good harbinger for him. But I'm just not 100% convinced that Murtazaliev is necessarily that beast they're making him out to be. But he just needs to get more active, because in this 154-pound division, there's a lot of good names and a lot of good fighters. So let's just get this belt active and get these two in the ring in January.
Yeah, I completely agree, to be honest. I mean, I think Josh Kelly goes back again to what I was saying about the whole amateur scene. He is growing out of it. It's time to really grow up and put the big boy pants on. Just go for it. You know, he's got the movement. Will the gas tank last? That's a question. But then I'd say, you know, with pro boxing as well, sort of the last few rounds, you need to be able to stand there and have a firefight and scrap it out. So, yeah, I think it's a bit of a make or break, really. I think he needs to prove he's a fighter as well as a boxer. I mean, he's got the skills. I'd like to see him put it out there, to be honest.
Yes. Dr. FMG has just gone back to our Wardley conversation. He says the white collar reputation is an advantage for Wardley. His opponents seem to forget a game plan or prepare properly. He has shown that he belongs in their company, which they discover in the fight. Quality comment. We can't better that. The Dr. FMG has spoken. He's coming at the end there, and we're going to close things up now. I've enjoyed it tonight. It's been good. It's been like the old Google Hangouts days of 2017. It's been a bit chaotic. Harrison was there when he stood and traded. The points were perfect. We had our friends jumping in randomly as well, like the good old days of Hamed sending the link out. But yeah, we'll do this again, hopefully a little bit more often if we can. And if you boys want to join us, I will throw the StreamYard link out. We also had Pickering against Hunter earlier on, 20 years today. That fight took place 28th of October 2005. Ishan Pickering losing to Michael Hunter. Before we go, Ames, is there anything you want to throw in? What's going on Seconds Out at the moment? Any thriller in Manila content you want to give us before we let you go, sir?
Yeah, just an interview with Pacquiao I've done just a few hours ago. He's saying that the fight with Floyd Mayweather, the rematch is close. So we'll see if that happens. I think that's still probably one of the biggest fights in the sport, if not the biggest fight, because of the followings that both fighters have. That's about it, really. Just been busy. Good to see you back in the hot seat here, Wellington as well too. Maybe we'll get to see more of you and Matty, and maybe the regular return of I'm giving you work here, but belly of the week, because I've got loads in the back pocket that can fire your way. So still, even in its quiet moments, it's still a mad sport.
Yeah, I'm planning on doing a belly of the week this Sunday, actually. So I'll drop you a text, or if you remember, drop me a text during the week whenever you're not jet lagged, and I'll grab them off you, actually.
No worries, pal.
Good stuff. Always good to have Eamon Khan, aka Take Ames, on the call. Harrison as well. Good to have you, sir. Anything you want to throw in there before we close out for the evening?
Nah, I think it's all sorted.
All sorted, all sorted. Shout out, Steve, says Tim R. Good work, sir. Thank you very much. About time I did some good work. Thanks, Steve, says Yumi Yappy as well. Thank you to everybody who's jumped on this evening. Ames, Harrison, and we also had the Professor as well. Go on, Ames. You've got more for us, seemingly.
I said, where's the super chats, the type bastards?
I'm like Dubois. I haven't hit that momentum yet, have I?
I've turned into Rob Kelly, just slagging off the fuck the listeners.
Fuck the listeners, exactly. That's exactly right. Right, okay. Thanks very much for jumping on, boys. We'll put this up on the Patreon and up on the Spotify as well, and hopefully do a few more. And yeah, feel free to text me if you want to jump on and have a chat. It's a bit random. I think we did Friday night last time, Tuesday night this time. Who knows where we will turn up? I've been Steve Wellings. Thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to hit the like on the way out. Let's see if we can get 50 likes tonight. Thanks and bye for now.